Good afternoon, everybody. Happy to see everyone here today. Thank you so much for being with us on today's session. I am recording the session. We record these sessions when we're able to and upload them up to our YouTube channel for those that can't attend the live sessions. But you guys, since you are attending the live sessions, do receive in-service for attending. Today, we are going to be talking about building positive relationships, specifically with our co-teachers. So using teacher talk and teamwork to make the most of our teaching staff and engage in ongoing and effective communication with each other in a manner that supports high quality teaching and learning in the classroom. My name is Lexi Langiri. I am the Quality Initiatives and Professional Development Manager here at the Early Learning Coalition. I have some other people here on the call with me today. We'll have Ms. Shai, who's one of our coaches, join us here shortly. We also have another coach on. Miss Amanda is here. Miss Sarah is also here. Thank you all for being here. I will be monitoring the chat box. So if you have any questions, feel free to drop it in the chat box. Hi, Miss Rachel. And I'll be monitoring that. Or if you want to unmute yourself and verbally respond, you are more than welcome to do that as well. For the breakout room discussions, those will not be recorded since there's some highly sensitive information that goes on in there. But for the majority of the content of today, I will be recording it just so we can upload that recording link for people to view on their own time. Just a couple of housekeeping rules. If I think the majority of us are getting familiar with Zoom these days, but just as a reminder, if we have an X or a red line through our microphone, that means you are muted and I cannot hear you. If you cannot hear me right now, you might need to change your speaker system, and that little caret next to your microphone button is how you'll click on that and you'll be able to choose which speaker system to hear me through. Same with our video. If you have a red line through your camera looking button, that means your video is off and I cannot see you. If your red line is not there, that means your camera is on and I can see you. We also have our chat feature, our chat function. So please make sure that you guys are using the chat function for any questions, comments, concerns, and that way we can have a nice group discussion about today's topic on teacher talk and teamwork. Our agenda for today, we will define what teacher talk looks like. We will share an opportunity to practice giving teacher compliments. We'll explore some strategies and examples of what it means to have teacher talk and teamwork within the classroom. And then you guys will discuss and develop some practices and goals that you would like to try out over the next week of any material that we go over today. Our objectives for today, we will discuss the purposes of communication among teaching teams, understand how teachers talk with each other to support teaching and learning, and then also discuss and understand zoning and the benefits of zoning in the classroom. So we'll just jump right in with our definition. When we think about teacher talk, we do consider the early learning teaching practices specifically under building positive relationships. And we're really going to see this come out in two specific practices where we want to ensure that we're sharing information with our teaching team about children's classroom activities and progress or accomplishments. The instructional team will also include our families. And for the purposes of today, we're really talking about those teachers. Miss Annette, you have your hand raised. What question do you have? Hi, Zanette. Good to see you on today. Did you have a question for us?
No, hi. Just wanted to make sure you see me.
I see you.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. All right, so our second teaching practice that we're looking for here today is that teachers are going to be able to collaborate with their instructional team, including their families, to plan those lessons, establish objectives, and address children's individual needs. So these teaching practices are simply things that we can see and hear teachers say or do in the classroom. This is also going to align with CLASS. CLASS is the classroom assessment scoring system, in which we use this as an assessment tool for classrooms to look at teacher-child interactions. We know that with positive teacher talk, it's going to help with areas, especially positive climate and responsive caregiving, and then therefore that's going to increase our quality of those interactions in the classroom as well. And this is true across all 3 age groups: infants, toddlers, and pre-K students. Finally, we're also going to note that this happens to be at the very base of our instruction, this effective workforce, these nurturing and responsive relationships that we create with one another. Here we have the model for the pyramid model. Pyramid model is a conceptual framework of practices for promoting young children's healthy social and emotional development. So when we are looking at social emotional development in teacher talk and teamwork, it's essential to help with that development of healthy social progress with young children. And this also looks at including relationships with children, families, and team members. I'm going to lower Miss Lynette's hand so I can make sure we got everybody in here. This is essential for all classrooms, all age groups, even with administration. Teacher talk and teamwork is critical in order for establishing that effective workforce. And that is going to be the basis of all the rest of the things in our classroom. If we don't have an effective workforce and we don't have that connection with our co-teachers, we might find some disconnects, and we won't see as high quality interactions in those classrooms as well. In defining teacher-to-teacher talk, teacher talk is going to be the daily purposeful communication that occurs between adults in a learning environment in order to ensure that teaching and learning are provided in an effective and efficient manner. This is going to focus on communication between adults in the preschool classrooms. And we'll talk about the definition of zoning later on in the training. All right, so we're going to watch just a very brief video, 38 seconds to be exact, and we're going to look out for characteristics of how the teachers communicated with each other. So as you guys are watching this video, as the events are happening, go ahead and drop in the chat box what strategies you see these teachers using to communicate effectively with one another. Let me double check and make sure I got my sound shared. I do. All right, quick video. Here we go.
Oh, let me ask Miss Esquivel. Looks like she's over there. Let me ask Miss Esquivel. Miss Esquivel?
Teacher Jen, could you head over to dramatic play, please? Thanks. And then Teacher Viana, can you kind of keep track of blocks too then? Thank you.
Hey, Teacher Janet.
Hey.
Okay, great. What area do you need to be in?
I'm going to take Calais.
Okay.
We're going to go in the hall and read this book.
Oh, okay, great.
For you?
Yes, it does. Go ahead. Yes.
All right, so it's just a quick video clip, but what kind of strategies did we see between these teachers that demonstrated effective communication? That's okay, Maureen. Anything that you saw just in a general note? Does anybody have anything they'd like to share on what strategies we saw here? All right, we've got some in the chat box. There's a teacher in every area and they communicate a lot. Absolutely. They are direct and they talk to each other by name. They use each other's names. calmly diffusing something. Yeah, they stayed calm. Having teachers in different areas of the room, perfect. Yeah, so we see everyone was alert, polite, beautiful. So we see, initially the teacher walks across the room to talk to another teacher, so they're not yelling across each other. They're giving directions to one another in that friendly tone, and they coordinate those activities within themselves. Like, hey, can you go over to block area? Can you go over to this area? That way they can make sure they've got sufficient coverage. Thank you, everybody, for your responses there. We are also going to see, why should teachers talk to each other? And there's a couple thoughts here. To ensure that there is consistency with the classroom routines and expectations. If we have teachers that are on different pages for expectations and routines, the children might get confused, and it can be hard to communicate those with them if there is differing ideas. They will need to share information across the day, whether it's lesson plan activities or student information, or even just general work information, and then to develop and maintain a sense of teamwork. That way they can build on each other's strengths and really work with one another in a healthy and an efficient manner. If you are a single teacher, there might be teachers that come in before or after your shift in the same classroom, and you're still going to have to talk with them and communicate with them. You're also going to have to still communicate with other teachers in a similar age group for developmental tips and ideas on activities and learning objectives. Yeah, floating can be challenging, certainly. Not super familiar with routines. You have to know every teacher's structure and their expectations. And this is where the communication piece is going to come into play. Shared classrooms also can pose a challenge if we have like half walls dividing classrooms and with the administration team. But making sure that we emphasize when we're coordinating loud and quiet activities with those shared classroom spaces, so that it's not disruptive to our space in our activities. So then we want to think about, what do teachers talk about during the day? In the chat box, go ahead and share an idea of what you may talk about with your co-teachers or your administration, or any other adult that you interact with at your school. What's something that you talk to your coworkers about? Lesson plans. Lesson plans and ideas, beautiful. See if we have any other ideas come through in the chat box. And again, you guys are welcome to unmute and share too. Lesson plans and activities we're doing that day. Something I learned from a student that may be affecting their health or behavior. Absolutely. If we need to know that a child is coming back and they've been sick for a few days, that's important information for us to know. What we're going to do that may differ from lesson plans. Perfect. Plan for the day. Child morning drop-off, information from parents, certainly. More activities or different activities to try. How we're going to have a positive day with the children, organizing activity components, adjusting lesson plans. You guys are rolling in with these responses. Everything we need to know about the kids, plans for challenging behavior, parent communication, how you're feeling. Yeah, all great things to note here. So I'm gonna go ahead and reveal these thought bubbles here too for other ideas, a checklist. So teachers might talk with each other about student interests also. So, Soren is drawing a picture of a dinosaur here at the art table. We also might, oops, sorry, not too far there. We also might discuss children's learning objectives. So Noah's working on giving friends a turn when they ask for one while he's playing at the sensory table. We might discuss teaching practices that we're working on. You can help Joey by showing him how to write his name. Certain children might need adaptations, and we need to convey that as well. So let's try using this cube chair for Kaylin at circle time. And then also communicating children's behavior, right? Wow, I love how the kids at the yellow table are using safe hands with the Play-Doh. And so most of these comments can be shared and celebrated out loud, even if there's not another adult in the room. Some of these statements could be considered parallel talk when we think about how it applies to children in the classroom. Okay, this one's going to be another quick, short video, but this is a video we're going to look for how the teachers talk about a child's learning objective. And so it's a 13-second video, very short. And from this example, we're just going to look for how the teachers talk to each other about the specific objective.
Oh, Jody, we're taking turns building, remember?
Nice job using your words though, Jody.
Not yet.
So really reinforce him for any time he's using his words instead of physically expressing himself.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Teacher, what's up, Jody?
All right, does anybody want to take a stab at what the learning objective was? Be watching the chat box here, or you guys can verbally respond.
Could we see it again?
Yeah, certainly. It's only 13 seconds. I've got 13 seconds to spare for you. All right, here we go.
Oh, Jody, we're taking turns building, remember?
Nice job using your words though, Jody.
Not yet.
So really reinforce him for any time he's using his words instead of physically expressing himself.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Teacher, what's up, Jody?
All right, was that good for you, Maureen? Okay. All right,
Yeah.
what thoughts do we have?
Giving a tip to another teacher?
Yep.
Yeah, I was going to say, reminding the teacher about positive reinforcement habits.
Yep, right. Yeah, they're talking to each other about this very specific objective for the student to reinforce him for when he's using his words to express himself. And we also want to note here that the one teacher walked over to the other teacher in the block area rather than calling across the room. And when they spoke about the child and shared what was said, the other teacher simply, stated providing directions without having to worry about the context. Great responses, ladies. Thank you so much. Yep, reinforcing behavior. Perfect. All right, so what else do we talk about? We talk about so many things throughout the day. And we're going to look at a couple of items here. We're going to make sure when we talk about coordinating classroom activities that we think of transitions, materials, and workloads. So transitions are going to be those critical times to communicate with our staff regarding where children are going next, which child might need more support, or anything else that would be important in that transition. Materials will be communicated and discuss about how it's important to communicate what materials are needed for certain activities, when it's time to clean up materials from an activity, or how children are expected to play with certain materials. We also might talk to each other about workloads. And so this would be communicating which teachers would be responsible for supporting a certain child, or responsible for a certain activity or a certain task that needs to be completed in the room to help ensure that the classroom is running smoothly and efficiently. This is also going to be called zoning, and we'll talk about zoning here in just a couple slides. We also have to talk about paperwork. So we have child observations. There's some required forms such as attendance and tracking lunches, or for infants and toddlers, we might have to track meals and diaper changing. We'll also think through lesson planning that has to be communicated. So for child observations, forms, lesson plans, communication logs, daily notes, data sheets, those are going to be examples of instances where teachers need to share information with one another in order for it to be most successful and helpful. All right, now that we've covered what teacher talk is, we're going to explore how teachers talk to each other. And so let me put these bubbles in. And we know from research that there's a couple of components for face-to-face conversations. And we found out from research that communication is 55% nonverbal actions, 55%, more than half. 38% was vocal, and like as far as not only the words, but also the tone and pitch and the way it is delivered. And then 7% was words only. So thinking about that, what are some nonverbal cues that we use between teachers in the classroom to help convey things we might need to say? What are some nonverbal cues that we use in our communication to talk to each other? Pointing, perfect.
I would say like thumbs up or thumbs down.
Yep. Using big eyes, yeah, eye contact, yes. Sign language, perfect. Those hand gestures, sound effects, our facial expressions, whether we're smiling or not. Teacher looks, yes. What words such as we or us and behaviors such as sharing information do teachers use that reflect teamwork? For example, we might say something like, I was wondering, or I was thinking about, or I would like to try. What might be an example of a phrase we could use to talk with our co-teachers that reflects teamwork?
What do you think about this? You know.
Yes. Great example, Gloria. Getting their thoughts and opinions on an activity before we just go ahead and do it. How would you feel? Perfect. Do you think? Yep, those nice reflective questions can really help in having these meaningful conversations with our coworkers or our teammates. Placements of body, like walking near a problem situation and saying, we like the way does this. How about we all do the same? What are your thoughts of? How about let's try to do this or that? Do you have an idea? Love that idea. Do you have an idea? Okay, so that's the way we do this. Let's all try it. What are going to be some examples of warm, caring, respectful words and phrases that teachers might use with colleagues? For example, thank you, or that is so helpful.
I appreciate you.
Yeah. I personally love hearing that.
Me too.
Yeah. Let's see what other examples we have here. Thank you for sharing your strategies. Yeah. You are awesome. Yeah. Let's see. Googly eyes on things of teachers who were helpful to me. Thank you so much. Right. Thank you for giving me tips and feedback. Great idea. I love that. Yeah, those are some nice examples of warm, respectful phrases that we might use with our colleagues. So just thinking about that, you know, it's going to bring awareness to our own nonverbal cues with our body language. We want to make sure we are using language that implies teamwork and that we convey our respect and our caring for our coworkers in a manner that they feel like they are being seen and that they're supported and that they're needed there. All right, this is going to be a 20-second video, and you guys are going to be looking for how the teacher compliments another teacher here. So 20 seconds looking for how the teacher compliments another teacher.
All right, so what's the big idea over here?
Cameron, tell Teacher Fanny what you're doing. I'm building a house.
A house.
What else? You said a house and something else. Can you build me a bridge? A house and a bridge. I think you can ask a friend to help you.
Perfect idea, Teacher Savannah.
All right, so what was our statement here that conveyed that compliment?
Perfect idea. And she said the teacher's name.
Correct. Yep, she's complimenting her teacher assistant for prompting the child to ask for help. The teacher specifically stated what the teacher was doing, and that was positive. Yep, perfect idea and her name. Fabulous. Okay, so here's what we're going to do next. I'm going to put everybody into breakout rooms for just about 5 minutes. And we're going to practice providing compliments to one another. So you're going to get an activity. This activity is going to be helpful for you guys to think about potentially frustrating or challenging things that might occur in the classroom between adults, and how consistent communication can help alleviate that stress. And in the breakout rooms, I'm going to copy and paste 3 scenarios for you guys to look at in the chat box in order for you to think through positive statements and compliments to establish that warm and inclusive school climate and culture. And so our first example is going to be a group of children and your volunteer are playing in the sand. I'm going to copy and paste this in the chat box so you guys have it too, but I'm just going to read it off for you. As the children bury different animal figures in the sand, the volunteer says, "Wow, I see an animal that starts with a B who says grr hiding in the sand. Does anyone else see it?" So we'll write some compliments for that. Our second example is going to be while at the writing table, Teacher Marina said to Teacher Christopher, "Have you noticed that Hassan is bringing papers close to his eyes?" Teacher Christopher replies, "No, I hadn't seen that. Maybe we should let the family know." Hassan indeed needed glasses. And then our third one, think of an example from your most recent teaching day and write a compliment to another teacher. So we're going to go into these breakout rooms for about 5 minutes. We're going to look at these 3 prompts and come up with some example compliments of what we might do in these situations. And when we come back, we're just going to be looking for people to share the compliments that you guys created. Does anybody have any questions?
Lexi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
I'm-
All right. I think everybody's back. Not quite.
Yep, I know.
I think the other breakout room is closing up. Yeah, we still got a few seconds for the other breakout room, and they are coming on over. All right. All right, so I know my group had some nice discussions about their celebrations of their class scores and having potlucks whenever they do amazing jobs. We also discussed a teacher, who had a student who was being bullied and making sure that she paired him with a child who usually plays alone, and identifying that that was a great idea so they can be together. How about our other group? Was there any awesome celebrations from our other group? Or any awesome compliments that we'd like to share?
One of the teachers gave a big thank you to her co-teachers for switching breaks so that they can all participate in the training, which I thought was fabulous.
Oh, yeah.
And and thanking them for being team players. So Ms. Vanessa said, "Thank you for working as a team. It makes a big difference."
Yeah, I gotta love that teamwork. Teamwork makes dream work.
Yes.
All right, ladies, thanks for engaging in that activity with us. It was lovely to hear all the amazing things that you guys are doing together. So when we are working with other human beings, sometimes they do things that press our buttons. And it's important to acknowledge what are some behaviors that might rub you the wrong way and that might kind of irritate you sometimes. And so go ahead and post in the chat box one behavior that really pushes your buttons when working with adults in the classroom or in just a preschool setting. If you don't feel like sharing your button, write it down for your own acknowledgement. And just think through how you feel when those buttons are pushed. So I know for me, when it comes to working with kids, it really irritates me when there's gossip. Don't care for gossip. That's not productive to the workplace for me. Passive aggression, yeah. Not being a team player, right? Maybe not helping when there's help needed. Let's see if there's any other hot buttons shared here. Again, if you don't feel comfortable sharing in the chat box, not a problem. Write it down for yourself. I don't like when I have to repeat it to, okay? Yeah. Disagreement, acting as if the children are not present. Oh, that can bother me sometimes too. Talking about personal things or using adult language in front of children. Certainly we are professionals. We should be talking professionally in front of our students. Negative attitude, used to get stuck doing everything in the old room, not be able to take criticism. Yeah, so I think being mindful of these buttons is really important, and being mindful of how you physically and emotionally react to these buttons, because they're gonna happen. And being able to communicate your concerns with your coworkers and your co-teachers and how their behaviors concern you is important as well. Expectations, that I always know what they want me to do. Yep. Expectations should certainly be communicated very clearly in order for us to be able to meet them. Thanks for sharing, everybody. There's a lot of great variety of responses there. Okay, now we're going to go into zoning. Zoning is where teachers are assigned to a specific area and tasks in the classroom. Teachers remain in their assigned zone for the duration of an activity, whether it's free choice, outdoor time, snack, and we're going to support and play with children and provide instruction for children in that zone. So, for example, if teacher A is zoned to the block area during free choice, they will stay and go directly to the block area at the beginning of free choice and remain there as children move in and out of that area. Or we might have one-to-one zoning where one teacher is responsible for shadowing and supporting one child throughout the day. This situation might be used when a new child joins the classroom and needs some extra attention, or with children who might engage in aggressive behavior. So some key procedures for using zoning: make sure you just develop an organizational chart and list each activity and routine that happens throughout the day, as well as all the classroom team members that are assigned to those activities. So include those transitions between activities and outside playtime. Think of all the jobs that need to be done at each activity and assign them to different team members. Those jobs can be rotated weekly so that all team members understand all the roles. Sorry about that. My screen went further than I wanted it to. We also want to review zoning assignments at the start of each week to make sure that those expectations are understood and that everybody knows their roles and what is to be done within their zone. Be sure that we are checking in with our staff, especially our new staff members or staff members who have less experience, and make sure that they feel comfortable with their zones and their responsibilities. Post the zoning chart in a visible location for all to see and reference throughout the day. and give each teacher a copy of the zoning chart to keep in their pocket for quick reference. Regardless if you have another teacher in your classroom, this also works on the playground when 2 or more classes are outside at the same time. This is an example of what a zoning map might look like. And so teachers are the ones who stay in their zones while the children are free to explore the entire classroom. So planning for classroom zoning encourages teachers to think about how the physical classroom is arranged. It provides an opportunity for staff to evaluate the balance of activities. For example, dramatic play can be a busy, high-need area. So it's good to have a more child-independent area, such as the library, in the same zone. Single teachers are going to be more conscious of how the room is set up for learning zones. And times of the day should also be considered for when children need specific help to complete a task, such as toileting, brushing teeth, or putting materials in their backpacks. Those are going to be useful times to use this zoning as well. During these times, one teacher can help a group of children while the other teacher continues supporting the rest of the classroom. Some other tips for zoning: position your body at child level, but with your back to a wall or the edge of an outside space if possible. This will enable you to see the whole classroom in addition to what is happening in your zone. Scan your zone. While interacting with one group of children, lift your eyes to ensure that the other children in your zone are engaged in an activity. Scanning allows for monitoring of problem areas and to act quickly and proactively before problems arise. Make sure that you're talking with your teachers throughout the day too. And as children leave your zone, communicate with the other staff members to let them know that someone is joining their area. That allows children to move around the classroom more appropriately and maintain their engagement during the day. Make sure we're positioning, scanning, and practice talking. So zoning is an effective practice used to support children's active participation and engagement in the classroom. It's also a tool to organize classroom staff and space. We know when it's used well that all team members know where they should be and what they should be doing. Children are not left to wait while the adults try to organize their roles, as these have been decided and explained to the staff ahead of time. Staff can work more efficiently as a team when everyone knows where they need to be and who's responsible for handling an issue that may arise throughout the day. And then each staff member also has a vital role in running and managing the classroom. All right, so we're just going to briefly go back into breakout rooms for about 5 minutes, and we're going to discuss one thing that you're going to try over this upcoming week, whether that's giving compliments to your coworkers or families, or if you're going to set up a time to discuss zoning with your co-teachers or your directors or your extra support staff, or if you're going to plan for zoning. So just identify one strategy for yourself over this next week that you're going to practice and try implementing in your classroom. And all right, I think everybody is coming on back. So for our discussion on strategies this coming week, does anybody want to share something that they're going to work on?
I'll share.
Okay.
Oh, somebody was talking. You can go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to share what someone in our group shared. They're making paper flowers and giving them to parents in the morning when they come in. Mm-hmm. And I think that's really cool because when they give them the flower, they're giving the parents a positive affirmation. Aww. And it helps the families, feel welcome and want to be more involved in the school. So not only are they, complimenting their teachers and the students, but they're also complimenting the families. And I also think too that that's a great way to help teach parents how to be positive, even within their own families. So I really think that was a great idea that they're doing at their school. I really like that.
Fabulous. Thanks for sharing that, Gloria.
Well, that was me that I was going to share, but Miss Gloria shared it. So someone else can go.
Sorry, I took your idea. I really liked it.
That's okay. That's what we're here for, to share with one another.
Thank you.
As Alexa said, parent involvement. We had Antonia say have a majority of behavior management on one co-teacher. Okay. Anybody else have ideas that they want to share? All right, I'm going to go ahead and get us wrapped up here then. So when we are reviewing for teacher to teacher talk, making sure that our zoning helps to encourage child engagement and is maximizing that learning time. Zoning is also going to be an easy way to organize and utilize our staff members and help take the guesswork out of those classroom duties, and then also help build staff confidence and create a sense of teamwork. So making sure also we are paying attention to what we say and how we say it to our coworkers. We do have some resources for you guys for today. We'll drop them in the chat box, and we'll also include them in today's follow-up email. Our first one is going to be from eClick, which is Early Head Start, and it's going to look at helping develop a sense of teamwork. So making sure you're using that positive feedback with each other on a regular basis, sharing information about the classroom, and using warm, respectful language with each other. We also have from eClick tips for teachers on zoning to maximize learning. So creating that schedule, creating your chart, making sure your body position's there, that you've scanned your assigned area and that you're talking to your teammates. And then finally, a classroom collaboration work style discussion guide, just to, have a discussion about some things. So I like to get things done early before children arrive. Do you agree? Do you disagree with one another? And just identifying if there are areas that you disagree with one another, that you have the space to talk about those things in a space away from the children. Today, we are all wrapped up with Teacher Talk and Teamwork. So thank you all so much for your time and for being here today. I'm going to stop sharing my screen if I can find my mouse. And we are going to drop the evaluation link in the chat box. We really value any feedback that you guys have for us. That's also how you get your in-service certificate. So that link should take you to the evaluation. In whatever email address that you provide in that evaluation, that's what email the in-service certificate's going to go to. We'll stay on for about another minute or two in case anybody has any individualized questions, but that's going to be it for today's session. Thank you all so much for your time and efforts, and we look forward to seeing you guys again here soon.